Welcome to Swala Nyeti, the law podcast that pairs a layman and a lawyer to answer your legal questions of the day. Swala Nyeti is sponsored by the law firm of Kigwata and Company Advocates and is intended for educational purposes only.
Welcome to episode 34 of Swala Nyeti. I am the lawyer, aka Wakili Harry Karanja.
And I am the layman, Gashao Patrick.
Hello, Gashao.
Wakili, have you seen what things you have been doing?
What do you mean?
Now.
By we? Or what do you mean by me?
All you guys, Wakilis, judges.
Uh-huh.
There's a case in Naivasha.
Yes.
Of mishap in a virtual court rather.
Mm-hmm.
Where two people with the same name,
mm-hmm.
I think was Peter and Gige,
mm-hmm.
were arrested for two different offenses.
Mm-hmm.
One for drinking.
Yes.
The other one for robbery with violence.
Okay.
And the court called the one for robbery and violence in.
Mm-hmm.
And they read the charge that he's being charged for drinking.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, yeah, that's me.
Okay.
And he was charged.
Yeah.
He paid and left.
So you're saying the court, there was a case of mistaken identity.
Yes.
And the court called the wrong person.
Mm-hmm. And the guy got free. I mean,
oh my goodness.
He was prosecuted and left.
So he paid the fine and...
he was out. And they can't find him now.
And the fellow who would know the real person...
Levy now.
Yeah.
Levy.
He doesn't know what's happening.
His identity was stolen.
And he's still in the cell probably. He doesn't even know what's going on.
My goodness.
Well, I mean, you have to expect such things when you have a change in how things are happening.
Are you guys wearing wigs in this virtual court? Considering how much you guys love wigs and...
Okay, so let's if there's all these problems in virtual courts, let's at least make sure our virtual podcast has no problems. So let's not mistake the identity of our question today.
We'll try, but that case... anyway, now, as we had promised yesterday, we have a question, and this is it. My husband and I need guidance. 2 months ago, we went to a bureau to hire a house help. We were desperate and took the best in the group, even though she wasn't our preferred type. A few weeks into her job, on a Sunday evening, my husband said he couldn't find an old laptop. He was sure he had kept it in our closet and suspected it was stolen. Earlier that morning, the house help had taken off her day, and we figured she might have stolen it then. When she returned, we asked her, but she denied it and started insulting us with unprintable words. I told my husband it would be safe to lock her up or she might turn violent. I told the watchmen not to let her leave, and then we called the OCS, who is our family friend. He sent some police who arrested her and detained her overnight. In the morning, they released her on free bond, but she never came back. The police never found enough evidence, so they did not charge her in court. However, the bureau called us recently and said a lawyer for the lady was asking for her details. Should we be worried? What do you think, Wakili?
Okay, so let me see if I understand the situation here. We have a couple who had hired a house help from a bureau, and they suspected that she had stolen a laptop from the house. When they questioned her, she became rude and violent, as they claim. Or rather, she became rude and threatening to be violent. And to avoid such violence, they asked the watchman not to let her leave, called the OCS, who is their friend, and had her arrested. But later, no evidence was found against her, so no charges were preferred. And then they got a call from the bureau saying that a lawyer for that lady had been asking for the details of this couple. So they want to know whether they should be worried if there's any possible civil wrong they have committed.
Correct. First, I think my first interaction with the house help was when you get a baby. I had never thought you can live with another person in your house without your relative. And then they come and you trust them with your baby, with the food they cook. It's amazing then. So I see how these things also turn. You just never know who you are living with, to be honest. So if they are rude or they start insulting you because of I don't know, she should have said no, I think, if she didn't take it. And now where's the laptop? So in this case, she has not been charged, and I just think the police were doing their job. So there's nothing for them to be worried about.
Well, okay. So Gashau, if we're to look at civil wrongs, and that's what we're discussing this week, you might be correct that it's not possible for this lady to charge or to bring an action of malicious prosecution against them because she was not charged, or against the police in that case. But there is still a possibility that she might bring an action in tort for false imprisonment.
False imprisonment, Wakili?
Yes.
She's not been imprisoned?
No. False imprisonment does not necessarily have to be being put in prison.
No, false imprisonment, Wakili, means Robben Island. Like Mandela. You're there for 27 years. Just spending a night in the cell. Police collect people who are drunk. They put you in the cell in the morning. You go home. Come on.
Well, and I'm not even talking about her experience at the police station. In this case, I'm looking at them detaining her in the house and asking the watchman not to let her leave.
Is that false imprisonment?
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to let you answer that question after I tell you what are the ingredients of false imprisonment.
But before we even get there, I think our children are falsely imprisoned.
You think what?
All our children are falsely imprisoned. Talk angel, don't get out. Anyway, what are the ingredients for false imprisonment?
So, just to understand, false imprisonment is not about being in Robben Island or, any other penitentiary system. Rather, it's any unlawful restraint of a person when that person is purporting to act with legal authority.
With legal authority.
Yes. So there are some things here we have to see to determine whether it qualifies as false imprisonment. And this time I'll give you 5 things only.
Okay.
Only 5 ingredients.
They have subtitles.
No subtitles or subcategories.
Yeah.
You're the one who has to keep note of them.
Number 1.
So was there a detention?
No.
Okay. Now, so to determine whether there was detention, you have to look at whether she was restrained from leaving.
Okay, I told the watchman not to let her leave. That's what he says.
So the second thing is that the detention must be forceful.
Like, was it forceful, you mean?
Yes.
It wasn't. She complied. She was told not to leave and she stayed. And if she was in such a hurry, she would have jumped over the fence or something. No one detained her.
Well, first of all, we don't know the status of the offense. It could be those ones which have some broken glass at the top.
But there's no evidence that she went to the watchman and the watchman told her to go back.
But just take note that when we talk about forceful, it does not mean that any force was used, even threat of force. And if you've seen watchmen who've been tasked with detaining someone, you can tell that they can effectively use a threat of force to keep you where you are. They usually have implements of their trade.
Machete.
Or
and arrows.
Yes, and
mbwakali.
And if you see that, sometimes you sit tight where you are.
Okay.
So forceful does not need that there has been force. Only the threat of force is sufficient.
Okay. 3.
It must be total.
Must be total.
Yes, the detention must be in a way. Now, like you had said, there's no possibility that she could leave that place. So there's no possibility that she could have jumped over the fence. There's no possibility that she could have just found some other exit. So it must be detention in a way that it would prevent any reasonable person from leaving.
Okay.
That
one I don't agree. Number 4.
Number 4 comes to the issue of time.
How can I detain somebody who has a chance to escape?
Who has?
Who has a chance to escape? What type of detention is that?
Yeah, so I mean, remember this is a civil wrong.
But yeah, you're telling them, I have detained you, but you can live through that gap.
So that's not detention. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah, you can't do that. You have to be total detention. You can't leave. So Wakili, are you saying this schools where children come for DT? Do you know what DT is?
No, what's that?
Detention on Saturday. Maybe mostly day schools.
Oh, okay.
And you're not supposed to come to school on the weekend. But if you have DT, you should report maybe from 8 to 1. Are you also saying that is false imprisonment?
I think you're the one to tell me, because if it meets the requirements, the ingredients that I've told you of false imprisonment, then it's possible. And so let me finish the last two so that you can tell me.
It means schools have become jails, ladies and gentlemen.
So the fourth requirement is, or rather the lack of requirement is the time.
Nice.
So when it comes to false imprisonment, it doesn't matter how short or long the imprisonment was or the detention was. It might be a few minutes or it might be a few days. It might still qualify as false imprisonment.
Even a few minutes.
Of course, because remember, everybody has freedom of liberty under the Constitution.
Wow.
So for you to take away that right of their liberty, even for a few minutes, you are infringing against their legal rights.
Okay.
So when it comes to false imprisonment, it does not matter the period. It might be what you might think as a short period, or it might be a long period.
But it's still DT.
And lastly, the most important is that the imprisonment must have been unlawful.
Okay. The imprisonment must be unlawful.
Yes.
So, if we agree on the imprisonment, is that unlawful?
Well, now you can tell me. In this case for that you mentioned for DT, had you agreed for the imprisonment?
Yes. When you go to school, you know that if you commit this, the punishment is DT, and you must report.
So then in that case, it wouldn't. So if the imprisonment is unlawful, or if the detention is unlawful, then it can meet the requirements for false imprisonment.
Now, Wakili, let me ask you. We catch a thief unhanging clothes in our estate, a person we do not know, stuffing them in a bag. What are we supposed to tell him? We can't detain him. We can't tell him, we have caught you picking things that are not yours. What we call a person like you here normally is a thief. And you wait here, the police are coming.
Okay, so to find out whether something is unlawful or not, there are two tests you can use.
I knew there has to be some subtitles, some options.
So, I mean, first of all, you'd just take you'd want to ask, is it reasonable? Okay, again, it's a layman test. Okay,
yes.
Would a reasonable person looking at this situation, acting with the same information and facts that you have, make a similar conclusion?
Yes.
That this person is should be best restrained to avoid them from escaping lawful authority.
Okay.
If someone can reach that conclusion, that it's reasonable, then it's likely that the detention was lawful. And also, very importantly, that there was no malice in how this detention was done.
What? So
if there is malice, then it's likely to be unlawful.
What does malice mean? Like I intend to harm you?
Exactly. So malice implies that there is some intention to harm. So the question of reasonability is not so much the issue. The question of malice is more likely. Why did you call the police? Okay.
Why did they call the police?
In this case that has been sent in, why did they call the police?
I think they called the police because the laptop is missing. It's missing on the day she went home on leave. She's a suspect. And she has become violent, or possibly violent, when asked about it.
On this question will hinge whether they should be worried or not. Because they've claimed that the OCS was their friend.
Yeah, is that a bad thing?
He might have been acting based on the relationship that they have, rather than
on
the facts of the matter. Okay?
So if we have a person we suspect as a thief, we should not call the policemen who are friends.
That's not what I said.
They might act blindly.
That's not what I said.
In favor of friendship.
So at the end of the day, whether they should be worried or not will depend on that key issue, on whether there was malice in how they imprisoned her or detained her. And if there was, then it could be that they committed the civil wrong of false imprisonment. and whether or not the police charged, which can also play against them.
If the police did not charge her?
Yes. It means that the police, looking at the matter objectively, found insufficient evidence.
Already?
That's what it means. It means that when the police looked at the circumstances, they saw that there is insufficient evidence to charge her, which could mean that this couple also had insufficient evidence to detain her.
Wakili. What if the police are negligent? They didn't write a charge sheet or something.
Well, like I said, all we can do is work on the facts that we've been given. So whether they should be worried or not will come down to that question of malice.
Let's see now. Was there a detention? I think there was. Was it forceful? That one is debatable. The lady was also being violent.
She was being rude.
And possibly violent.
Well, maybe that's how you'd react also if you are being accused of theft and you had not committed any theft.
Yeah, but violence all the same. And then total, you say time does not matter. So that one is non-negotiable. We won't even talk about it. So I don't think it was malicious. And therefore, they have nothing to be worried about. It is a reasonable way of dealing with a person you suspect stole your laptop. You wait for the police to come.
All right, so...
And if you're not the thief, don't try to run away, by the way.
So whether or not they meet those conditions will hinge on a test of the ordinary man on the street. And in this case, of course, we had police officers who presented with the same facts, did not find that they could sustain a charge for theft. Therefore, the question begs, why did this couple feel like they are in a better place to determine that this lady had stolen than the police? And if they can not show how they came to such a conclusion that she stole from them, outside of bias or any ill feeling they got from whatever she insulted them about, then they might be said that they were acting in malice. And in that case, they could be liable for a claim of false imprisonment.
Well, there you have it. Nothing more to add. I think there might be reason for you to get worried just a bit. But in any way, this is law. Wakili has taught me it can go either way. So you stay put, have your evidence, and if true that your laptop is missing, also it's true that somebody took it. So in any case, we leave it there for now. That's all we have time for today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of Swala Nyeti. The question is it possible to sexually harass a male junior employee if it was consensual? This is a very sensitive issue, and I look forward to hearing the answer from you, Wakili. Otherwise, from me, have a good day and goodbye.
Goodbye.
You have been listening to Swala Nyeti. Special thanks to our layman, Gashal Patrick, and our lawyer, Harry Karanja. If you have a legal question that you want answered, send us a WhatsApp message on 0708 111 222 or email us at admin@swalanyeti.org. You can find downloads to all our podcast episodes on our website www.swalanyeti.org.